Who sold you drugs?
If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, RoboCop was sort of a big deal. So when I heard about this game, RoboCop Rogue City, it sort of caught my attention. The reviews for the game have been mixed, but it's largely positive. Just ignore IGN, but most other outlets are actually giving this a decent score. The main complaint about this game is that RoboCop is too slow and basically a bullet sponge. Well, if you watch any of the original movies, that's basically what RoboCop is. I personally like the game. From the gameplay standpoint, it is a first-person shooter, and the gameplay in that sense feels similar to kind of the Fallout games, and don't expect something, like a fast-paced Call of Duty. What impressed me the most about this game are the graphics and the visuals. With Unreal Engine 5, this is a beautiful looking game. The environments, the lighting are some of the best I've seen. The mood of the games, the art style, the environments, they perfectly capture the movies from the 80s and 90s. Roaming around the city just looks really good. Now the game's not an open world game, it's more linear, but each section does have side quests which do make it feel like more of a hybrid. You can just stick to the main story, or you can choose to extend your playthrough by completing all these side missions. Now the combat, it can be fun. It's a bit brutal though, it's more aimed towards mature audiences. RoboCop is not available on the older generation PS4 or Xbox One, so you'll have to upgrade to the latest hardware if you want to play it. With Unreal Engine 5 graphics, how does this game run on the Xbox Series S versus Series X versus PS5? That's the focus of this video. The game isn't too large, about 44 gigabytes on the Series S and X, and 40 gigabytes on the PlayStation 5. The loading times here are impressive. It's perhaps the fastest I've seen a game load from dashboard, taking only 8 seconds on the PS5. Series S takes 12 seconds and Series X takes 13 seconds. Then there's quick resume and activity cards. The PS5 activity cards still take the same 8 seconds as loading into it normally. On the Series S though, quick resume gets you back in the game in 5 seconds, while it takes 6 seconds on the Series X. Once you're actually in and playing the game, the loading screens are almost non-existent, and you can also skip all the cutscenes fairly quickly. Let's not talk about the graphics and resolution. This is a good looking game on all 3 consoles, even the Series S. Xbox Series S has only the default quality mode though, which is locked to 30 FPS. You're gonna get 1080p dynamic resolution on the Series S, while the Series X and PS5 quality mode is closer to 1440p dynamic. Keep in mind, this is dynamic scaling, so you can expect it to dip below that target in certain high demand areas. On the more powerful Series X and PS5, you also get to switch to performance mode. Performance mode bumps the target frame rate up to 60 FPS, but of course the resolution now drops to 1080p dynamic. And it's not just the resolution that drops, but even the reflections and shadow quality are lower in performance mode. The Series X and PS5 look almost identical. Now if I'm really being picky here, it seems the resolution is just a tiny bit higher on the PS5, but you really have to zoom in to notice that difference. Now here I'm comparing the Series S quality mode to the performance mode on the Series X, and you can kind of see that the 30 FPS mode on Series S looks almost identical to the 60 FPS mode on the Series X. Now it's not just the gameplay that gets targeted to 60 in performance mode, even all the cutscenes, the live action cutscenes do target 60 FPS in performance mode as well. Now let's talk about the frame rate. That's what everyone cares about the most. First up is quality mode, which does target 30 FPS on all 3 consoles, and it pretty much stays at that 30 FPS on all 3, a solid locked 30 in quality mode. Performance mode on Series X and PS5 is another story though. While it does target 60 FPS, it rarely gets that. In low demanding indoor areas, you'll see a consistent 60, but in the high demanding areas, especially outdoors with all that good looking lighting going on, both consoles struggle. It's common to get to the low 50s and even the high 40s at times. Between the 2 consoles though, the Series X is slightly better. The Xbox Series X does hold the more stable, higher frame rate in those high demanding areas. In this section, for example, you can see the PS5 struggling in the 50s, while the Series X holds fairly close to 60 FPS. So if you're into console wars, I guess the Series X wins this one in terms of performance. But to me, what this is really showing is that the current gen Series X and PS5 hardware is not really ready for Unreal Engine 5. I mean, they're already being pushed to their limits. That 4K or 8K they put on the box of these consoles, we'll never get that with the modern titles. Anyways, for the rest of the video, check out some more side-by-side gameplay of RoboCop Rogue City on the Xbox Series S versus Series X versus PS5 with that FPS counter shown. And of course, the sound is actually coming from the game rather than music or silence.
Just stormed into my office. Apparently, his niece's car has been stolen. Find it. This goes to the top of your priority list. You can start by asking about it at some of the local garages. For the rest...
You need to be taught some rules.